Mike here. I want to give you 4 tips on how to make your drywall, your DIY drywall project go into your basket. All right, so tip number 1 through 4, like most of my videos, if you watch any of them, thank you, but they all start actually not with drywall, they actually start with the step before drywall. So tip number 1 starts with layout, and it's really understanding, are you gonna be putting your drywall, hanging it this way, or are you gonna be hanging it like laying down, okay? That's very important. So I'm in a basement here. I couldn't get a full 8-foot sheet piece of drywall down here. So I figured that out before I even did the framing. I knew that. So I had to account for that when I was doing my layout to make sure that when I laid this wall out that I had a stud at 4 feet. And then I had another stud directly at 4 feet. Now, of course, I kept my 16 inches on center, but I really made sure that this stud, and for example, this stud was perfect, okay? So that when I get to the drywall stage, and I put my drywall up, that there's actually a stud there to screw to. I've done many drywall projects, unfortunately, where we go to put the drywall up and there's, it's barely hitting the stud, then you have to get extra tools out, whatever. Let's not do that. And during the layout, think about how we're gonna hang our drywall, and then make sure that we have a stud there, okay? And also during the layout, you wanna know not only that it's 4 feet, but also which way on the wall are you gonna be running your drywall. So does that mean you're coming 4 feet off this corner or 4 feet off that corner? That's also part of the thought process. So that's tip number 1, and that'll save you a lot of time, okay? So let's move on to step number 2. Step number 2, again with layout, it starts with framing. Make sure your studs are flat before you hang any drywall on them. Okay, and this starts down here, in the middle, and at the top, okay? When I framed this basement out, it took me, after I framed everything out, I thought I was done, ready for drywall. It took me a whole nother day to straighten all the studs. It's a whole nother story, but make sure your walls are flat, okay, and are straight. That'll also make your project go a lot faster. It'll also, for the longevity of all your joints and everything will look a lot better, okay? So step number 2 and 3, or I'm sorry, 3 and 4, you probably haven't heard before. And these are ones that I kind of came up with as we were doing this. Okay, so tip number 3 is actually get yourself a piece of plywood. This is a 3/8 piece of plywood, okay? And what I used this for was to measure my drywall. All right, so what I did was, when I was measuring the height of the drywall, I actually had like a 7-foot piece of this. I threw this down on the ground, and then I measured off of this piece of plywood, right? I measured exactly what it was, 89, let's just say that was. And that's what I cut my drywall to. Now you might say, well, it's gonna be short. Yeah, it's gonna be a 3/8 inch short. It's gonna be whatever the width of this is short. But that's exactly what you want. Because I've done a lot of projects where you measure off the floor up, and you get that exact measurement, and nothing is flat. The floor's not flat, the ceiling's not flat. You bring the piece of drywall down, and you can't get in there because it's basically barely fitting. So with this, it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. And then what you do is you basically put the drywall up and you pull the drywall up to the ceiling, screw it in. You'll never see that 3/8 or whatever it is at the bottom gap. It'll be covered by baseboard. You'll never see it. And it'll make your project go a lot faster. Tip number 4. Goes back to layout actually. Goes back to electrical. Okay, so this is the first time I did this. My outlets are actually on a seam. Oh, Alexa, stop. Okay, so you see all my outlets are on a seam. This is an idea I came up with when I did this, and I didn't know if this was a great idea or a terrible idea. I thought it was a great idea, then after more I thought about it, I was like, maybe this might be a terrible idea. But now that I've actually spackled everything, I'm realizing this was a great idea. Okay, so it comes back to layout, like I said. It comes back to knowing exactly which way you're putting your drywall. Okay, but what I did was I put every one of my outlets on the stud where the drywall was where there was gonna be a seam. Now what that did was it enabled me to just cut out just this quick little seam here. All right, and I did the same exact cutout on all the pieces of drywall. So it's a repeatable process. And once you do one or two, every other one you get done within 30 seconds. So this actually saved a lot of time doing it this way. I would say I've never seen this tip anywhere, and it really saved a lot of time, and I would recommend doing that. I have a feeling someone's gonna have a comment on that's probably a bad idea. I really would like to hear a reason why not to do it, but for me it was a huge time saver. This drywall, about 40 sheets of drywall, was done, we've never done drywall this fast ever. So big time saver, but it comes back to layout. So all these things, you gotta think, it's always a step before, you gotta think a step ahead actually, to think about what can I do now to make the next step faster. Okay, always think 2, 3 steps ahead. Okay, so that was tip number 4. I hope that helps you. I hope that saved you some time. If it did, please like. Why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment below. All right? Thank you.